What is going on, you guys? Today I have another super quick episode for you. Today we're going to be reviewing the Strike It Big podcast, and they have Patrick Bet-David on as a guest. They're interviewing him. The title is Marriage, Getting a Prenup, and Strict Parenting. We're going to go over just a quick section here because it's about an hour podcast, so let's hop into it.
With those 101 questions, what were some non-negotiables for you that other guys should be looking at?
Do you have any kids before? I'm not going to deal with the other husband. Let's just say I'm single at 48 years old. My wife and our marriage doesn't work out, okay? And I'm looking for a different relationship. And the girl I'm dating is 32, she's got a kid. I'm 48, okay? Maybe a different story. But I'm not looking at having more kids, let's just say at 48 years old. Life is different in every circumstance. But if you're in your 20s and you're not coming with a lot of baggage yourself and you're single with no other kids, hey, one of my non-negotiables is I don't want to have to constantly talk to your ex and he's coming in here and has influence over my kids. I'm good. It's just, here's how it's going to work out. Number of kids.
Yeah, realistically, I think the best case scenario for that is like if you're a guy that has a kid and you're single, and then there's a girl or a woman that has a kid and she's single, that might work. Or maybe like he was saying, like if you're a bit older and she has a kid, yeah, that might make sense. But if you're a young guy, realistically, if all of us are like really brutally honest, we would prefer to date someone who is also without a kid and also probably hasn't been through marriage already, right? Like if we're like brutally honest about it, that's what most guys would prefer, right? So, that's what I would recommend you do. Just like Patrick's recommending right now, just because like that's going to come with a whole lot of extra baggage. And for you, it would be better for you to find someone who's also, they haven't been married yet, haven't had a kid yet. So you have sort of like a fresh start with them. You can build with someone, because again, like there might be some trauma around that stuff. Like, and with the previous dad, she's gonna have sort of like subconscious bonding to him, right? So like realistically, it doesn't make sense for you to be taking care of someone else's kid, especially if you are that young guy, right? Like I totally understand what he's saying.
I want to have, the non-negotiable for me was I wanted to have 5 kids. She wanted 3. We settled with 4. We would have had 5, but one didn't make it, the twin, so we ended up with 4. God's plan is with the kids. And then I had to ask her about how much she's capable of seeing me being on the road traveling, because when I built the insurance company, I was on the road 6 months out of the year. So what do you think about me traveling? How long can you handle me being away? And she's like, yeah, I'm good with this. Okay, great. And she had understood the business I was a part of. We had a few other things that we talked about, but those were some of the things that we discussed. Like, for example, for me, I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're whatever you are. I'm Christian, but I don't care what nationality you are. You got to know how to cook Middle Eastern food. Literally, that was my, and that's a non-negotiable. And I said that to her that one day when we went through the questions. On our next date, she made an Assyrian dish that she got the recipe for. It's the worst meal I've had in my life. It was disgusting. However, the fact that she made an effort to cook that Assyrian dish, today she's one of my favorite cooks in the world. And she cooks.
And that's pretty funny, but it shows some dedication, right? Like the fact that she was serious, like she wanted to learn, she wanted to make an effort because she was interested in him. So it goes so far, right? Same thing for a guy, right? Like if he shows an effort that he's interested in the girl, right? I was actually listening, it goes so far. And what they're talking about, by the way, I think with his wife, before the date, before like one of their first dates, he had given her like a book that he had just read where it had a list of questions that they would go through to see if they were compatible long term, because he decided that he was no longer interested in messing around, and basically what he wanted to do was find a long-term fit for him. So it's pretty funny story that he's telling right now, but I totally agree, like going over some non-negotiables for the relationship.
Middle Eastern food, and she's a white girl we found out today she's British, okay? But we got married here, not in Britain, so we have different laws we follow here. But yeah, she's, you have to learn how to cook Middle Eastern food.
With the thing about...
A funny side note, if you don't follow this channel already, there's a channel called Zoom to Thailand. It's a older black guy who is living and maybe retired in Thailand right now, and he's got a Thai girlfriend, and he taught her to cook shrimp and grits or grits, and it's very like kind of like U.S. like Southern country dish. So like I just thought that was hilarious when I saw it, because I was like that's awesome. She was like very happy, like she wanted to learn, she wanted to cook that for him, like, and it's nothing like Thai food at all, right? But the fact that she wanted to do that it's just like a huge sign. Like the guys are simple. We're like, what? Like you put this effort in for me, right? Like, and girls want to see that too, right? So like, you know, just it's the little things, guys.
Not dating a woman that's had a child previously. What would you say to people that say that could come across a bit misogynistic? I'm sure there'd be people in the comments saying, you know, why would you discount people for just having a kid?
Totally fine. That's your choice. It's my standards. What makes you think you get to impose your standards on me? Who are you?
Yeah, I feel there's a whole movement that, you know, when a man decides he wants something, you know, it's
And I get those comments all the
misogynistic.
time. But what I'm saying is, I don't care.
How can guys get to that position of abundance though? Because you being able to say that this is a non-negotiable for me and I will not have it, that you have to have a level.
I like what he was saying there, right? Because it doesn't matter, like, someone else can't impose their standards on you, especially for dating, right? It's like, you know, you're not living for them, you're living your life, right? So what do you want? Have you ever, a lot of people haven't even considered what they actually want. All they've been doing is listening and people pleasing others, like their parents. Let me become a doctor because my parents want me to be. Let me date this person because everyone says I should date this kind of person. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to live for you. And that's such a small thing, right? But it's like, he's describing his standards or what he wants in a woman, and no one can like shame you for that, right? Same thing for a woman, right? Like if she has something that she wants in a guy, right? Like you can't shame her for that, right? It's just like, you know, that's what she's looking for. Now, maybe at a certain point, like for both sides, there might be something that's unrealistic, like just someone, I don't know, like the one you see a lot is like the 6 foot, 6 figures thing, right? And like, oh, I need him to be making like $200,000 a year. It's like, okay, I mean, of course, like that's awesome. That's awesome to shoot for. Now, the likelihood of you getting that, what is that? And what percentage likelihood is it? How many men fall into that percentage? And what's the chances that you can attract that man for a long-term relationship? And I think there would be a flip side, like certain versions of that for guys to keep in mind too, right? But you know, again, like it all loops back into like, don't let someone shame you for your type, right? Like what you're looking for, or the things that you like. And I think this is where you get into the conversation of like what you want, non-negotiables, and things that you're willing to be flexible on. When you kind of like wake up and you can see what you're attracting. And also too, one final note before we keep going, is you can level up. Like you can level up your real life video game character to be able to attract something better too.
Of abundance, and I feel like a lot of guys, as soon as they get a sniff, they'll just lap it up straight away and they're all in. So how can they get to that position of abundance to be able to dictate the terms of the relationship?
Listen, you know, it's all leverage. What do you bring into the table? What do you bring into the table? You know, but I will say this also, like, you know, there's like Dana White, right? Dana White, UFC. Dana White from UFC is hard charging, strong, expectation driven, all this other stuff, right? Do you think he became like that after he became a millionaire, or you think he's been like that his entire life? Yeah. There's this concept of people thinking you become like that after you become a millionaire. Once I make my money, then I'm going to be like alpha. No, you're a leader. If you're a leader, you impose your belief and then you deliver. You know, when a guy is dating
Yeah, I love that. I mean, if you haven't heard this before, money is an amplifier of your true character, right? So like, again, what he's saying, like if you're already a leader, it's just going to amplify that, right? If you're already greedy, it's going to amplify that, right? You know, it's like there's different aspects about you that is basically just going to amplify. And that's why you see guys who there's a difference between like treating yourself with like the Rolls Royce or the Rolex or whatever, right? Like, you know, this isn't about like shaming them, right? Because there's a difference between a guy who can treat himself with those things but not go overboard and lose all his money, right? There's that guy, and then there's a guy who's just totally reckless with his money and he does stupid things with it, right? And so he doesn't like make his money work for him and he loses it all, right? So like, again, like it's an amplifier of your behavior. And of course, right, there's habits and behaviors that you can work on rewiring and changing too.
And he says something like this: babe, one day we're going to buy a house in a cul-de-sac and we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this. All right, well, guess what? Fine. She bought into the dream. We better make progress towards that. So I remember when my wife and I got married and I started a company, I said, I want to let you know, I'm not buying a new house for 5 years. I'm not getting any kind of Chanel purses till we have 3 babies. If you give me 3 kids, I'll get you Chanel purse. Everything between now and there's Coach. I like Coach because it's $300, $400. Chanel is $7,000. I said, I'm not doing no Louis stuff, nothing. But if we're together for 10 years, I got her a $3,300 wedding band. That's nothing. My friends are spending $30,000, $40,000. I said, if we're married 10 years, I'll get you a $60,000 ring. But let's see if you can stay with me. If not, I'm not buying you a freaking $60,000 ring. So she's like, okay, babe, I just want to be with you. No problem. Here's $300, the ring. It's our 10-year anniversary. I take her to the jewelry. Hey, babe, this ring here, $60,000. I'm like, babe, I don't want that ring. It's big and my finger hurts and all this stuff. Can we, instead of doing this, we just go to Monaco and we stay there for a week and da-da-da-da-da? I said, yeah. So we went to Monaco and we spent $60,000 on the trip to Monaco. She didn't want the ring. Third baby is born, Senna. I go to the store, buy her $7,000 Chanel purse. I come back and say, here you go, babe. I said, we're going to rent for a while, but one day I want to buy you an insane house. And we're going to live together in an incredible house. As long as you are saying, and your spouse, your wife is seeing you make progress to the dream that you sold, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So you have to have the pride to show progress towards the destination. And she has to believe in you as the husband, as the spouse, to say, babe, I got your back. I believe in you. That's the combination. This expectation of you being a millionaire day one, it's delusional to think that. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have that, fine. But I want to manage expectations, and I want to be able to look at my wife and know you're looking at me back, that I'm the man. You respect me because I keep my promises. If you can do that, then just make sure you don't make insane promises like you're not going to do. Make promises that you're going to do your part. As long as you do, she's like, listen, this one guy, that guy right there, she's going to talk to a friend. That's my husband. You know what's the one thing about that freaking guy? He's a BMF. When that guy tells me he's going to do something, he does it. That's why I'm still with that guy.
You also have a prenup, as we discussed earlier,
Yep.
and you found...
Well, and that's I love that, right? Because it's like not giving insane promises that you can't keep, but saying things that you're going to do because you're dedicated, you trust yourself, you're going to put in the work to figure it out, right? Like, that's a whole different thing. And of course, like, I guess on one hand, there's like, you have to sort of like wrestle, like bob and weave, like it's boxing or something through, like, like certain things happen in life and it's not always necessarily the easiest journey, but if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So, doing what what you say you're gonna do, right? Like following through on your word, just keeping your word, basically, right? So, like, one thing I've heard a lot of people say when it comes to working for clients is there's a saying that's something like under promise and over deliver, which means saying, this is what I'm gonna deliver, right? And not keeping it too crazy, and then like over delivering, right? So like more than you even imagined to begin with, right? So I kind of love that, because I was doing music work for a while, like writing music for video games. And like, for example, just an easy version of that, right? Is like, can you get this done in 2 weeks? Yes. And then you give it to them in 1 week. In that way, they have time to give you feedback on it. They're surprised you got it done even sooner. They love the work you did. And either way, you either finish it in a week, or they give you a little feedback for some tweaks and you get it done faster. So that's just the easy example. But you see what I'm saying, right? It's like, under promise and over deliver, but follow through on your word.
today that you were very surprised about, that we can't have that here.
I cannot believe
in the
that.
UK. So what would your advice
there is a
be?
prenup, but it's not legally binding. So it's
What
not.
does that
it's
mean, though?
completely
What does that
pointless.
mean, though?
I think it's just an agreement that you can have, but when it actually, you go to
If
court.
push comes to shove,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything.
Let me tell you, I know this is going to sound weird. I'm not getting married in UK. I'm being serious with you. I'm just telling you. I hate to say this because she's sitting here saying, "Freaking guys, why do we bring this guy to interview him
She's
today?"
hearing
And,
you
know,
say
yeah,
about
she's
the
probably not happy
Chanel
about
and
this.
everything. And not
Well, this is what I was going to ask. I was going to say,
Yeah.
would your advice be to Curtis, do not get married?
I would advise him to get married elsewhere. I would advise him to set it up in a complete different way. The way I did it with my wife when we're talking about prenup, here's what caused me to have all this stuff in agreements. She called me about a couple things that she wanted us to spend money on her family. And it pissed me off. First time I was okay. Second time, third time, I'm like, I don't like this anymore because they're taking advantage of you. I said, you know what, babe? I don't want you to ask me anymore. She said, what do you mean? I don't want you to call me anymore and ask me for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. I don't want you to do that anymore. So what do you suggest we do? Here's what we're going to do moving forward. This is our money in this account. This money is spent for us, our kids, our expenses, our life. This money is your money. And this is my money. My money is my money. If I want to buy you a gift, I buy it from my money, so you know I'm sacrificing my money for you. If you want to buy me a gift for my birthday, it comes from this money, not from this money. So whenever your family wants money from you, you don't even need to ask me. You just go ahead and do it. So you want to do this? Yes. I went to the accountant. I went to the estate planner. I went to the lawyers. We set up the whole thing. And all of a sudden, it's like, we go to Vegas. And we go to the Louis Vuitton store. She says, can I see that navy blue purse and that purse right there? Yes. And I go like this. I'd like to buy both. She's not looking at me. She takes a credit card out from her account, spends $5,000-$6,000 on 2 purses. She says, I'm buying it with my money. I said, awesome, great. I'm for it, babe. I'm happy for you, babe, that you're doing this with your money. No problem. I'm okay with that, right? So that structure to me is very important. I do not support what UK is doing to, there's no way in the world that's.
And of course, that's assuming, I'm sure that his wife is, but that's assuming that you filtered and vetted basically for a girlfriend, wife, mother of your children, right? That is good with money, right? This kind of goes without saying, but in case you didn't know this, make sure to look out for girls who are bad with money so you can avoid them, and ones that actually want to protect your wallet, right? So in that circumstance, she's probably already good with money and they worked that out, right? So she could treat herself like that. But even like, this is kind of a random side note, but like, I'm sure this isn't always the case, but like in places like Japan, I don't know if this is true, maybe someone drop a comment. I heard that a lot of women are kind of like the accountants to the husband, like basically like the husband earns the money and then he doesn't really touch the bank account. Like the wife kind of like budgets for like groceries and, you know, everyday expenses, stuff like that. Now, again, if she's bad with money, you don't want to do that. But if she's good with money and she's looking out for your best interests because you're a team, hell yeah. I mean, like that's a completely different story. Like you want that, right? So again, right, like you want someone who is going to be on your team with this part.
That incentive is effective. No way. You mean to tell me I can't put arrangements? So if I was a billionaire and then I marry a 22-year-old girl and then 5 years later she leaves me, I have to give her half my money? Are you freaking insane?
Oh, we definitely are right, aren't we? I feel like someone fact check it, but I'm so sure that you can't.
Oh, there is no way in the world I'm getting married. There's no way in the world I'm getting. By the way, again, this is me. It doesn't mean you. Okay, your dad is here sitting here saying we made a mistake inviting Patrick here today, right? This was a terrible idea, guys. Why did you think this was a good idea? But I'm telling you, me, because if I don't have a prenup, I actually don't know if I have the drive to give my best.
Because you might lose it.
Because I might lose it. But if I have a prenup, I'm giving my best. Why?
But some people would, of course, say, which isn't what I agree with. I'm completely on your side with this. But some people would say, well, you shouldn't be marrying someone that you're not 1,000% sure that it's going to work out with.
Yeah, but shit happens though, don't it? You can never be sure.
So here's the part. Listen, if I screw up, totally get it. If I screw up, you're right. Let's just say if I change and I become the idiot.
Of course.
And I'm the drug addict. And I'm the one that's now doing cocaine and drugs and all this other stuff. Totally fine. Let's put it on the agreement. Meaning she doesn't know if I'm going to change and be the idiot. But I don't know if she's going to change.
Yeah.
I'm not God. You know what it is for a man to believe that the marriage, both sides are going to be great? Do you know that's a form of thinking you're God? Who the hell are you? Who the hell are we? I don't know what's going to happen with her later on. I don't know what's going to happen with him later on. No. So why don't we not play God and let's play humans, beings, and let's write a nuptial agreement together.
And of course, you only have to look at the data. It's all there backed up, the amount of marriages that fail. So it's not even saying you're a pessimistic person. You're just being realistic, looking at the stats.
Yeah, and by the way, I am all about marriage. I'm all about having kids, having a family. I'm all about it. But I also understand people change. And if you all of a sudden change, you're 39 years old, and you're like, well, I haven't had a man flirt with me except for my husband. The other day I went to this place, and this man said a compliment to me, and she does something dumb. That's totally fine. You screwed up because of your insecurities. I'm okay with that. Salute. I'm not giving you half my stuff. Wish you all the best. I'm still going to take care of you because you're my kid's mother, but this is not a partnership anymore moving forward. You chose that decision. So again, not saying that's what's going to happen. All I'm saying is you have to be logical about it, knowing everything's on the table.
If I was to set it up like my money, our money, her money, how would you propose that she makes her money? Should she have a job or a career, or should I pay into that pot and then she can use that money herself?
You get to structure that the way you want. The way we did it is my wife till today works every day with me. She's in my office right next to me. So I told my wife, I said, listen, just so you know, if you're going to be the girl that you're married and we got a lot of money and you want to go to the spa every day, you want to go do this every day, I'm just not going to be attracted to you. I'm not turned on by that. I just want you to know that because I don't respect that. That's not me, right? You just want to go shopping 5-6 days a week just because you want to spend my money. I'm not part of that community. I said, I want to see you.
Well, and I love that too, because there's nothing wrong with that. Again, you can't shame somebody for what they want. He's just merely stating his boundaries. Like if this is what you're into, all good. You're free to do that. It's just, that's not something I'm interested in. So basically you're stating what you're going to do if they, let's say, are that type of person or want to do that thing. They're free to do it, right? but it probably won't work out between you two as a longer term relationship, which is totally fine, right? So that's why you need to have these kinds of conversations to actually figure out who's a good fit for you. Because I think a lot of people, they go off of like assumptions and like they can read each other's minds, and they don't have conversations about their standards and what they're looking for. They put those conversations off until it's too late, so they get into this weird territory where there's like, if you've heard the term sunk cost fallacy, it's like they put a bunch of time into a relationship and they figured out that, for example, you wanted kids and she doesn't want kids, right? Like that's a deal breaker if you knew that in the beginning, but then you stay with her for, XYZ amount of time, and then you're like, oh, I put all this time into it, and now we don't think the same. I didn't know. Oh, but I still love her. But whoa, right? And it's like, again, the importance of communication and not expecting people to read your mind, and also it's not holding it back, right? Like getting to a point where it naturally comes up in conversation, and you say it, right? And being willing to walk away because you know that there's someone who does fit that bill, who does fit that description, right? So it's no big deal if that's something that they want to do, or it's a fit or not, because there's other people out there, right? So just keeping an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset.
Have my back, build things together. Your focus becomes the kids. You're picking up the kids. You're doing all this other stuff. But you tell me if you want to work or not. So first 3 kids, every time my wife had the kid, she's at the office working. By choice. She says, babe, when I have the 4th one, I want to take a year off. She's never told me this before. Because when we're dating, she says, I don't want to be the one that I don't have an identity and I stay home. I also want to work and contribute. No problem. You're speaking my language. I'm fine with that. Well, the 4th baby's born. She takes a year off, okay? And then I said, you want to take another year off? No, babe, I got to come back to the office. No problem. She came back to the office. Whenever she wanted to, she would come back to the office. But for me, she chose to contribute as well. Let's say she doesn't contribute and you don't want her to work, you want her to stay home. Well, then you got to give her an allotment. That's her money. And that she doesn't feel, because raising kids is a lot of work. Being a homemaker is a lot of work. Choosing to be a mommy is a lot of work. And it's not easy. And if she does it right,
yeah, I mean, that's, it's a job in itself, right? Like, it's a fulfilling job, right? I mean, a lot of respect out there for mothers. That's definitely a hard job, hard to go through. Of course, like the labor process and everything. And again, like I agree with what he's saying, right? Like, if she's going to be the stay-at-home mom, you need to support her. You need to step up and provide, right? And that's just, it's the nature of things, right? It's not like, there's no reason to be sour about it. I know some guys would be like, well, but like, that's kind of like a booger brain mentality, right? It's just like, come on, bro. Like you and I both know, like as a man, that's just kind of the way it is, right? So like, basically figure it out, right? And I think most men, to be honest, if there was no ego in the way, if there was no like being defensive, they would say, yeah, actually, well, I would prefer to be like, making enough money that my wife or the mother of my children could choose whether she wanted to work. And also, I would prefer it probably if she didn't work, if she didn't want to work, right? Like I would prefer her to be able to stay home with the kids, take care of them, so we're raising our kids and not like the school or daycare or other people raising our kids, right? Because you never really know like what someone else is telling them. And of course, it's good for them to learn from outside sources and things. But I think you kind of get what I'm saying here. Right? It's like, you want them to be critical thinkers and ask them. Like I think Patrick Bet-David has said this before. You want, like, if they come home from school or whatever, right? Like, and they say, so and so said this today, and you want to ask them critical thinkings. Like this is what Patrick has asked his kids. Is like, oh, they asked you that? Like, how come you think that they asked you that? Like, why did they ask you that? Why do you think that they wanted to tell you that? What's the reason that you think they wanted you to think that or believe that? So you get them to think critically, be more self-aware, right? So they're not just like listening and agreeing with what everybody's saying, right? Like you want them to actually like be, again, a critical thinker, right? It's super valuable skill set. And I like what he was saying too about the prenup stuff, right? It's like, it's not necessarily black and white. And he was actually agreeing. It's funny enough, because he sounds like, I'm not sure, it sounds like he has a prenup, maybe with like certain rules or regulations around it. But it sounds like he wasn't recommending doing it in the UK. And me personally, right, like I wouldn't recommend doing it in the US. Or getting married without a prenup, I mean. So, yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think you should get one. And I think what he's saying is you should get one so that you protect the both of you in the end, right? Like you don't lose half your money, so you're being drained and sort of having to start from square one, or always like paying half of your money from your paychecks, XYZ, right? Like you get the point. Like not being naive about it because people change, right? So I think it's wise to make sure that you protect yourself there.
Day long, take care of it. But for me,
and by the way, that also means, because that means having the government involved, right? And maybe you don't want the government involved. Maybe you can find a way to do your marriage without that, right? Or you can find someone who's a good fit for you who doesn't care if you get married. They do want to start a family with you. So like maybe that would be good, right? Like you just show your level of commitment without needing other people involved, right? And because I think that's a situation that could work out as well, right? Like it doesn't have to be like this big party, government involved, papers, legal jargon, right? Just like the whole point is it being a fulfilling relationship where you can potentially raise a healthy family together and enjoy it, right?
I'm kind of like the guy from old school where, husband and wife ran the farm together. They ran the store together. They ran the business together. That's kind of my style. And my wife and I have lunch together every day. As long as I'm in town, we had lunch together today. Sam, did we have lunch together yesterday? Or yesterday, did Jennifer and I have lunch yesterday? Or no? Yesterday we were in Dallas. We were in Dallas yesterday. If I'm in town, we're having lunch every day together, right, with the family. Yeah, you paint the picture of the way you want your marriage to be. Then every girl that you're dating, you tell them, this is what I want. They could say no, and you can compromise your values and principles, or you could say, babe, it's just not going to work.
They wrapped up the conversation about the relationships and marriage, but I totally agree with that. Just not compromising the things that are really important to you, like the non-negotiables versus the things that you're maybe a little slightly flexible on, but don't break your values, right? If it's just really not something that you want, right? Like you want kids, she doesn't want kids. That's a deal breaker from day one, right? So like, again, have these conversations. It's super important for you to outline this stuff, and it's okay. It's completely okay. It's funny. It's like sales too. It's like, it's completely okay to walk away from the deal because there's going to be someone that's a good fit for you there. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode, took something valuable out of this. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. You got this, bro.